Hey everybody, Jekyll's Painting here, and I got a quick video on how I take my files, my STL files, supported 3D printing files, put them over onto my 3D printer, have those run, and I'm going to show you how I have my little system for cleaning them up, getting them ready for paint. Should be super easy. It's a really quick little video. I've got some kind of ghetto cell phone footage of how this all works. It's really easy, and you can get my same setup minus the printer for about $60 for everything. Really easy. Alright, so here's my setup. Pretty simple, a little cluttered, but that's okay. Got my Photon S there, and then you can see I have a sonic cleaner and a little UV box. The UV box is actually meant for curing nails at a nail salon, but each of those items was only $20 on Amazon. You can see what the finished 3D print looks like when I get it off. It's still kind of goopy from the process, so I'm just going to clean that off with a paper towel, make sure my print head is nice and clean, and then I'm going to drop that into my sonic cleaner. I have a bath of a little bit of water, mostly isopropyl alcohol, and a little bit of simple green. It works great. Just have that cycle for about 2 minutes. And then I'm going to run the tap water in my sink, make sure it's really hot, you know, hot to the touch. Should hurt your fingers if you're not wearing gloves, that kind of hot. And what that is going to do is actually make that resin run a little bit more fluidly because it reacts to heat. And it's going to rinse all of that excess resin off, anything that was there post sonic clean. It's going to get that off of there. It's also going to transfer that heat into the resin and make our supports very soft, making them very easy to remove. I find simply twisting the item around the axis that it's on the support there will pop those right off, and any remainders you can clip off. You can also clip them all off individually if you really want to make sure that everything is nice and simple, or if you have a very fragile piece. Then I'm going to stick them in the UV box there. It cycles for about a half hour. The resin usually calls for about 10 minutes, but I just run it on 2 cycles of about 30 minutes each, just flipping them to make sure they're good and cured. It's not going to get any harder the more you cure it. It's just once it's cured, it's cured. And here's all the pieces out of the curing box ready to go. Got to do a little bit of cleanup on these. You can use your clippers or a very sharp hobby knife and some sanding sticks. Very simple, just to make sure that there's any pits or little nubbins left over from the supports. We can sand those right down. So I've got this little leg that I printed off for this this mech from Titan Forge. I'm actually printing this model out for a friend of mine, Kenny, over at Next Level Painting here on YouTube. And really simple. I'm just going to go around the model kind of feeling with my fingers where there might be any pits or leftover nubs from the support structures, and just sand that all smooth. Sometimes you might miss them with this translucent green resin. I can't always see it with the naked eye, which is why I like to kind of rub my fingers over it just to feel for any of that stuff. So depending on what type of resin you have, it may be easier or harder to see those nubbins and sand them down. That's pretty much it. It's really simple. The big learning curve with 3D printing is actually taking your 3D files and then supporting them to slice them up and then put them on the 3D printer. The cleanup process is quite simple. And like I said, I bought the curing box and the sonic cleaner on Amazon, each for about $20, so it's very inexpensive to get into. I also bought a case of isopropyl alcohol bottles, and I think each bottle was maybe like $2 or $3, so overall, like, total cost to get all this stuff is about 60 bucks or less. And that's my process. Like, I go in there and I go through those steps just like I showed you. It takes just a couple of minutes to get everything cleaned off. And I think the real key is actually not the sonic cleaner. Like, it does help and it is a really handy tool, but in my experience, actually running the pieces of those models under the very hot tap water is what really gets them good and clean. And it also makes removing those supports without having breakages or too many gouges or pits dig out of the model when you remove the supports. Like, because you soften them so much with the hot water, it makes them very pliable, and it's really easy to snip them or have them pop off of the model. So I definitely recommend doing that. If you have your 3D printer in a place where it's not near a hot tap like mine is, then you can always just like heat up some water or take some of that tap water that's really hot and put it in a bowl, or just walk over into the kitchen like I do. So, you know, do what you gotta do. But that's the process. It's super easy. With everybody kind of stuck indoors for you know, the foreseeable future, I figured this would be a good video because I'm sure a lot of people who either have a 3D printer and haven't used it yet or are thinking about getting one kind of want to know some of this information, like how hard is it to get into the process and get your models ready for paint and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to dispel some myths or anything like that with the cleanup process. It's actually super simple, so don't be afraid to get into it. It's a great addition to our little miniatures hobby, and I absolutely love it. I have recouped my initial costs on the printer like 4 times over, from not having to buy bits, not having to buy other kits just to get parts to do conversions and stuff like that, and just the ability to just print out models at, you know, cents on the dollar as far as resin costs are concerned is just amazing. Like being able to get these custom models or models that, you know, you can't buy in a store or anything like that is just great, and I have absolutely fallen in love with the process. So hopefully this was informative. Hope you guys like this tutorial, and I'll catch you next time.